So today we're talking about the backdoor Roth IRA, what it is, how it works, and who it's for. So Tom, why are we doing this video today?
Yeah, we're doing this video because Roth IRA accounts are wonderful type of accounts, right? It's money that's tax-free, it grows tax-free, can be passed on to your heirs tax-free. And so we often will run into people who want to put more money into their Roth, but there's all these rules and things that you have to follow. So we want to walk you through one strategy of a way to get more money into a Roth, more than you thought you maybe could. And again, we want to follow kind of step by step how to do that. It's called the backdoor Roth IRA contribution. So we'll walk through that in a second. But let me pull up the show notes here. You can find these at the link below our video. They're also on our website at cardinalguide.com. We have the board. And then we sort of give you some more of the details we'll go through on the board here. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the show notes today, but print it out if you want to. Take a look online and you can read through sort of what's supported on the board here. So I'm going to turn it back to Hans. He's going to go over some of the details, and then we'll walk through it actually how do you do this backdoor Roth IRA.
Well, I'm going to take you right into what I did last year, my wife and I, is so I'm going to just show you how you could get, if you fit some narrow parameters here, you're watching this video, if you're watching it right when it first comes out in early 2026, and you haven't filed your 2025 tax return yet, you can make a 2025 contribution to an IRA, to a non-deductible IRA, all the way up to when you file your tax return, or up to April 15th of 2026. So you can make a 2025 contribution and you could make a 2026 contribution all at the same time. And that's what I did last year. And I did it for both. My wife doesn't have any earned income, but she can qualify for this is if I have the earned income, we're both together over the threshold of income, and we'd like to stuff as much money in Roth IRAs as possible. And this was a way to do it. So what I'm saying is, if you fit this thing, you haven't filed your tax return yet, and then we're into 2026, you know you're going to make at least $8,600 in income. You're going to make way more than that, or you wouldn't have to do the backdoor Roth. Um, so you can do 8,000 for 2025, 8,600 for 2026, or a total of 16,600 for you, 16,600 for your spouse, or a total of $33,200 that we're going to put into an IRA by a non-deductible contribution. So you're not going to get a tax deduction for this. So it's after-tax money that you're putting in there. It has to be two separate accounts if you're doing this for you and your spouse. And it is then you're going to immediately convert it, or within a day or two before it grows, you're going to convert it to a Roth IRA. And when you do this conversion, you're not going to have to pay any taxes because it was a non-deductible contribution in the first place. Now, there's a lot of caveats. Tom's going to get into that. Is you can get that much money, $33,200, right away into a Roth IRA. You're going to have to use after-tax money to make that contribution if you're only going to do it for 2026. So I was, going over a 2-year contribution is if you're over 50, you can do $8,600 into this non-deductible IRA contribution, and you can do the same amount for your spouse. So you can get 17,200 into the non-deductible IRA, then convert it to a Roth IRA, and you're going to finish with $17,200 of tax-free money. Tom?
Yeah, that's exactly how that works, right? So these are the limits that you can do. That's the maximum. If for whatever reason you want to do less than that, you can do any amount between 0 and those numbers, but you can't do more than those numbers. But I want to walk through sort of step by step of like sort of what you need to have. What do you need to be eligible to contribute? Because there's some rules there. Not everybody can do that. And then sort of how to actually do this and what things to watch out for. So one thing that's critically important is you need to have service income. You need to have income from a job, either you or your spouse, right? So Hans had mentioned that, but I just want to make that point. So if you are both retired, I'll speak to a couple right now. If you're both retired, you don't have any working income, maybe you have Social Security, maybe you have your pension, whatever thing else, you are not eligible to make any contributions to any type of an IRA because you don't have income from a job. So that's step one, because I run into that sometimes. People say, I'm done, I'm retired, I want to add money to the Roth. You can do it, but it has to be by a Roth conversion, not a Roth contribution. So that's one piece that's important. Secondly, the whole reason we're doing this backdoor strategy is your income needs to be over a certain limit. So for 2025, if you're a married couple and your income is above 246,000, now you are no longer eligible to contribute money just directly into the Roth IRA. So if your income was only like 150, you don't need to do this backdoor Roth strategy. You could just put the 8,000 directly into the Roth without having to go through this sort of weird sort of backdoor strategy. So if you're still working, one of the spouses of you are still working, or if you're single, if you're still working, and your income is above 246,000 for a couple, for a married person, that's 165,000. Now that's where we start looking at potentially doing this backdoor Roth. If you don't meet those other ones, you might not need to do this, or maybe you can't even make a contribution to an IRA at all. So let's assume those are true. Your income is above those thresholds and you're still working. Now we start looking at doing this backdoor Roth. What you do, like Hans mentioned, is you take that amount of money, you put it into a traditional IRA. So that's step one. It's considered a non-deductible contribution into an IRA. So you don't get a tax deduction. You haven't paid taxes on that. If you don't do the Roth conversion, and I have clients that have made these contributions in the past, never converted it, and they've left it in there. What happens then is the growth on that account is taxable, but the principal, the initial 8,000 investment, you never are going to have to pay tax on that again because you already paid taxes on it. But if you leave it in a traditional IRA, the growth would then be taxable. And so what we're talking about doing is putting it in, not getting a tax deduction. It's a non-deductible contribution into a traditional IRA, and then pretty immediately converting that to a Roth IRA. So now the future growth is tax-free versus leaving it in the traditional IRA where it would be taxable. So that's the whole goal here. That's sort of what you want to do. One thing that is another critically important thing to not miss, and a lot of people miss this and can get themselves into some trouble, is called the pro-rata rule. What this pro-rata rule states is if you have traditional IRA money already, even if you keep them in separate accounts, even if you do the backdoor Roth over here, you have another traditional over here, they never commingle, they never get combined, the IRS says, we don't care. Once it's in an IRA, we're going to view it all as one pot of money. And then when you do the Roth conversion, we're going to convert proportionally the amount. So if you have $100,000 over here, maybe I'll make the math simple. You have $92,000 over here in a traditional IRA. You add $8,000 in trying to do this backdoor Roth. Now our total IRA balance is $100,000, and you go to convert the $8,000. Even though it was in a separate account, even though you could track it all along the way, it came from here, went to here, the IRS says, doesn't matter, it's all commingled from their eyes. And so now they take the 8,000 of the 100,000, which is 8%. Then you convert 8,000 of that, only 8% of that is going to be that non-deductible portion, and 92% of it is going to be the pre-tax portion. So you would pay tax on 92% of that versus getting it all tax-free. So if you have traditional IRA money already, this backdoor Roth is not going to be a good strategy for you. Some ways to get around that is if you're still working and you have a 401k that allows for money to be rolled into the 401k. Not all plans allow this, so you got to check with your 401k plan. But if they allow for that, you can take that 92,000 IRA that we just talked about, roll it back into the 401k. That's step one. Once we've done that, we no longer have any IRA money, and now we can do this backdoor Roth strategy where we take the 8,000, put it in a traditional IRA, a non-deductible contribution, convert that to a Roth. It's a way to get that 8,000 into the Roth account that you couldn't otherwise have done. So it's somewhat complicated. There's a lot of rules and moving parts here. You want to do it right. Once you mess this up, it could be unfixable or it could cause problems down the road. So make sure you're doing this. You understand how all this works. I would recommend going to somebody who does this for a living that can help you execute on this. That would be some word of caution here. But if you meet all these criteria, it is a wonderful way to get more money into the Roth that you maybe didn't think you could because your income was too high. One more point I'll make, and I'll turn it back to Hans here, is a lot of times people, if you're still working and have access to a 401k, that plan might allow for Roth 401k contributions. Roth 401ks do not have any income threshold at all. So you could earn $1 million and contribute the maximum you could into the Roth 401k because it's not in our IRA. So if you're looking to save money into a Roth account, I would maybe start with the 401k, do the Roth 401k there. You might have maxed that out and you're looking to do more. That's what Hans did. That's where the backdoor Roth can become important. So if you're a high earner, you maybe have thought you're not eligible to contribute to a Roth account. That might not be true. You either have access to the 401k or you can do this backdoor Roth account. There is a such thing as called a mega backdoor Roth IRA contribution. It's even more rules. I don't want to get to it on this video, but if you're interested in learning more about that, give us a call. I can walk you through how that might work. And again, it's a way you can get a lot more into Roth IRA accounts. So Hans, I just went through a lot pretty quickly. I'll let you respond to some of that.
Well, the whole thing is based upon you making a decision that I want more of my IRA to be tax-free. Okay. And I'm going to do that by getting after-tax money into the IRA and then let it grow tax-free and have that money available to me later in retirement on a tax-free basis, or have it for my surviving spouse. Like in my case, I think my wife is going to live a lot longer than I am. I mean, you never know how things work out, but she is going to be paying taxes at a single taxpayer rate after I pass away, and perhaps for many years. And so I really want to plan for that. One of the ways I've planned for that is through having a lot of Roth IRA money that is tax-free, and then she can pull from that as needed and not pay any taxes on it, not drive up her income at single taxpayer rates. So this stuff is real complicated, but it's based upon you having a desire to get the taxes paid on more of your IRA money. And this is a way to take non-qualified savings like I did and just shift it into the Roth and do this over several years. The goal here is to have a big, large balance of Roth growing tax-free and then available to you later in retirement or to pass on to your heirs. So this is just we're over here in the IRA 401k section with people we're doing financial planning for. You come into us for a plan, we're going to hear your goals, and we're going to hear that part of your financial plan is building up your Roth. There's lots of ways to do that. As Tom said, starting with the money that's available, if you're still working through your 401k, a lot of people come to us, want to do big Roth conversions, and they are not even maxing what they're doing out of their existing 401k. So we're going to look at the whole picture and of what you're doing for your retirement savings. Today has pretty much been around IRA, 401k, and it's been about taxes, a little bit about estate planning, and maybe a little bit about income, because a real sweet thing is you push some of this Roth into an annuity that pays a lifetime income. How about when you get older, having a tax-free lifetime income where you're getting a check every month for as long as you live, where you're not paying any taxes on that? That's kind of neat to look forward to. So with that, I want to bring Tom back on. I'm Hans Scheil.
And I'm Tom Griffith.
And we thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.